Talking about another great former Patriot, Jimmy G. Kyle Shanahan had some sound today, Brew, that I think is going to upset you a little bit. Take a listen.
See Jimmy being back, and if so, what would that look like?
No, I don't see any scenario of that.
That's it? All he's done for Shanahan, and that's it? What is Shanahan's record without him?
I don't know. Much better.
It's gotten a little bit better, but it's still way under 500
anymore, my friend.
Way under 500. Look, I get it. I don't think Jimmy G will be back there. Like I said, he might be with the Raiders now, but he didn't think Jimmy G would play for him at all this year. All right, he didn't even have a playbook in training camp, and I just think we have to wait to see what happens with Brock Purdy. Obviously, they like to play Trey Lance instead of Jimmy G, and I don't think Jimmy G will be on the roster, but you never say never. So I don't know.
I'm convinced there was sound from training camp where they said, do you think there's any scenario where Jimmy G will be back? And he's like, yeah, no, I don't think so. And
Jimmy G gave the farewell speech.
Yeah, there was a farewell tour. There were all those things, and then suddenly things changed, and he was there, and it was an opportunity. They redid the contract. You've got two young guys who are both coming off significant injuries. Who knows what the future holds?
Okay, hold on.
Getting rid of Jimmy G.
Hold on a second.
He will not go away.
Listen,
he's headed to brighter pastures.
But let's also be honest about how he ended up a Niner again this year. No one would trade for him. There was no market for him.
At $28 million.
Right.
Correct. There was.
You believe there'll be a market this year, not for trade, but to sign him as a free agent.
Yeah, I think someone's going to sign him. The Niners. What ended up happening with him? Washington, to be clear, it was reported was about to trade for him, and then he had that surgery without telling the team, which clearly miffed the Niners.
Right.
Which I think is one of the reasons. What Shanahan was asked about it. I know at training camp he said we've moved on to Trey Lance. Jimmy did. Everyone was done there, and then there was no market. And so he took less money to come back and be Trey's backup. Obviously, by week 2, he's playing. This is a very different situation where Jimmy is once again hurt, but is not going to ostensibly need surgery, and is going to go be a free and clear free agent for a team that cannot afford another $25 million quarterback. Well, not another, but a $25 million quarterback. And that's probably what he'll get on the open market. What to me is most interesting there, Wilds, is Shanahan doesn't have to say that. And Shanahan has given us a lot of evidence that as much as Brew might not like to hear it, I don't think he's a big fan of Jimmy G, man. Maybe you think he should be.
I know why.
Why?
Because Jimmy G takes away some of his shine.
No, that's not.
I mean, seriously. Look, the record is what it is, and it was 9-29 without Jimmy G going into this season.
Yes.
So I don't know, what is it now?
Well, I don't know.
16.
Those are pretty compelling numbers.
Right, that's what I'm saying.
But they became far less compelling once Mr. Irrelevant went undefeated until the NFC Championship game.
Though.
He literally
is a pretty good
player. And no, but he's not though.
He's not.
No,
He's not pretty good.
He's not.
And he's very hurt.
He is hurt. There's a lot of similarities to Purdy and Jimmy G. Quarterback wins, folks, wildly overrate them, and they get carried by the Shanahan offensive system.
Though.
And they got to an NFC Championship game, and in Jimmy G's case, got to a Super Bowl by throwing 8 passes in the NFC Championship game. Shanahan desperately, more than anything in the world, it's so clear, we know it because he traded 3 first-rounders for a guy, wants a force multiplier at the quarterback position. Now, I'm not saying we have any way to know if Trey Lance is that, but he believes, I think correctly, that my system with just baseline adequate quarterback play can compete for 12-plus wins deep into the playoffs. If I saw Matt Schaub throw for 4,000 yards in my system. I saw Cousins throw for 4,000 yards in my system. If I could one day...
The system also magically got helped by getting Christian McCaffrey.
Yeah.
No, thank you. And Brian Hoyer's a decent backup. He wasn't good in the system.
Okay, we're saying Brian Hoyer?
Okay, we've reached the Brian Hoyer stage.
I'm just saying.
Shanahan correctly believes if we were to ever have an elite talent at quarterback, we would be the best team in the league by a wide margin. He knows Jimmy G's not that. I think he knows Brock Purdy's not that. Which is why they are hoping Trey Lance is that.
Okay. Don't block Reddick with the tight end or a wide receiver for that matter. Talking about Brady, the GOAT of all GOATs. Next, first things first. and Friday. That's our set being currently built. If you want tickets to come see us, check out the First Things First Twitter feed or email Nick directly.
And if you email me, I'll give you Wild's cell number, and he can hook you up.
I would be happy to talk to you. I love all of our fans and appreciate you spending part of your day with us. Welcome back to the show. We are talking about Tom Brady's final retirement, we think. Although Coach put a little bit of a bird in our ear, said, I don't know. Here's Tom Brady's resume if you're not familiar with it. 7-time Super Bowl champion, 6 with America's team, the New England Patriots, 5-time Super Bowl MVP, 3-time league MVP, all-time leader in wins, passing yards, and passing touchdowns. Coach, last segment, or earlier in this show, you said, I don't want to stir the pot, and then you said some of the most incendiary things that we've heard all week. So do you think Tom Brady is 100% no doubt retired?
I think he's 100% no doubt retired in terms of coming back this summer, signing with the team, like being part of the whole season. I'm not 100% convinced that he couldn't be coaxed out of retirement late in the season next year for a really good team that has a chance to make a run that loses a quarterback
Coach,
late.
could that work?
Yeah.
At that position, that could work?
Yeah, well, let's look at alternatives like the San Francisco situation where,
You'd rather not be Josh Johnson.
Well, but there's other scenarios like that where the second quarterback, when you're looking at it, do I want Tom Brady off the street or do I want this guy? Tom may look like a very attractive option, and that team at that point for that small window could be an incredible option too, and. Like, who's going to be in better shape? Who's going to be better prepared? And if it's a system he's familiar with, could be a great thing.
Well, look, I mean, if that's
Probably
the
not
case,
New England, but
yeah, I definitely don't think New England. If that's the case, and Brock Purdy say has to have Tommy John surgery, and maybe Trey Lance either isn't looking good or just isn't ready, why not call Brady in August or July? If he would come back late in the season, he's single now, then why wouldn't he come back in August?
Can I ask?
I don't know if he wants that total grind. I think a little bit later in the year, kind of
to go through it.
But here's my question: if Brady thought that was at all possible, why did he announce this right now? This was the same. It was February 1st a year ago that he announced his retirement, and that obviously didn't take for a number of reasons. But there is no reason he had to. He could have waited as long as he wanted. They can't franchise tag him. Right. His contract's It's not the Rodgers situation where he has to be traded somewhere. He's a true free agent. He could have just sat out there, and it's not even like free agency has opened up. To me, Brady needed to close this chapter of his life.
With that.
And it did seem like he was conflicted, but also I can't get in the mind of Brady. I obviously don't know him. You know him, but you guys haven't. You guys aren't as close, I assume, as you once were. But I don't think any of us know what it's like to be the greatest ever at something and what that does to your brain.
Yeah, and I don't think it's possible right now, Nick. I really think he's closing. But how long was his last retirement? It's 41 days or whatever it is. Now, if we fast forward multiple months, and how do you replace what he's had from a competitive standpoint, all those different things, and suddenly there's an opportunity. There's an opportunity late in the season. I just think it's an attractive possibility.
Well, here's the other thing, just precedent-wise. It feels like there's always some activity around players that have retired who didn't get forced out of the sport. That if you're a healthy retire, you're always going to be fielding calls. Andrew Luck fielded calls. We had Calvin Johnson fielded calls.
Yeah.
Gronk is always fielding calls. So I assume he's going to make a few calls. And I know you can't get into Tom Brady's head, but if you were, a long time from now done, and I called you up at the retirement home and I was like, hey, I need one hot take from you. You were like, let me get my suit.
You would dust it off.
I still got it.
This is the one part of this, though, that I think that what I was leading up to was this. I'm not sure Tom Brady really wanted to play this year, but he had publicly stated a goal. play till I'm 45. He had built a brand around that to a degree. The TB12 method, I'm going to show you, essentially, I can reverse aging almost, right? That I can age backwards, or I can stop it. And that's going to be part of my business, part of my legacy. I think part of the reason he played this year, he knew the Bucs were not going to be great. Everybody knew. Vegas didn't know, but we talked about it, especially once they dealt with the offensive line injuries. I think the turmoil in the coaching staff, there were real questions about how good they could be. But I think a guy who has achieved literally every goal he's ever had professionally wasn't going to leave a box unchecked.
Yep.
And it was, I said I'm going to play till I'm 45. I'm this close, and I felt like that's one of the reasons he unretired. He tried to walk away, couldn't, because like, damn it, I'm not going to leave this undone. I said I could do it, and I'm still healthy enough and good enough to do it. There's no boxes left to check.
Well, he did throw out 50. Did he throw out 50 at some point?
No,
Yeah,
I
he
think
said he could, but
he said
that wasn't the
could.
goal.